All right. Hello everyone. We are live. Another Wednesday live stream here. It's kind of chilly. It's kind of chilly here today. We have like wild swings in Louisville with the weather. It was like 60 degrees Fahrenheit. It was 6 degrees Fahrenheit like 5 days ago. Now it's like 20 degrees Fahrenheit. It's like 40-degree temperature change. So, anyway, yeah, you know what? Let's get after it. Let's get after it today. Okay. Where were we? We were working on the Laravel Cloud Pre-Check. And last time, let's bring up PHP Storm. Let's get everything set up. We're coming in to the point of being cold. We're coming in cold here. We got nothing open, nothing set up. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and do a git pull here. Make sure we got the latest work. We do. And also, I'm going to need to merge origin master. Oh, man. There have been a lot of changes to Shift in the last week. Specifically, as you can see here, Livewire 4. Livewire 4 launched today. And I made a Livewire shift. I have not made a Livewire shift before. People have asked, and I haven't made it. And I haven't made it for a few different reasons. First of all, I didn't really use Livewire till probably Livewire 2. So 1 to 2 just kind of never interested me because I didn't have a personal need. A lot of the shifts come from a personal need. So the point here is that I was using it by Livewire 2, but Livewire 2 to 3 had like an internal tool. I think Philo built it. And it did a pretty good job. I've used it a couple times. It does the needed stuff. Is there more it could do? Would like a shift do more? Yeah, but it did enough to where I didn't feel a need to compete with the internal tool, right? Tailwind kind of same thing. Tailwind, I have Tailwind 1, 2, and 3 shifts because I needed them myself. But Tailwind 4, they have an internal tool. It does a pretty good job. I didn't want to compete. But now that I've made this Livewire 4 one, they didn't have an internal tool for Livewire 4, so now I feel like maybe I should go back and make a Livewire 3. I don't know. To the point, though, of scratching my own itch, I also made a fast Laravel shift. So anyway, lots of shifts were made in the last week. Probably more shifts were made in the last week than are normally made in a year. We're working on this one, so that'll be 3 shifts in the month of January that are made. I have no clue if there's a Laravel 13 or not. Typically there's Q1, there's a big release of Laravel, so that there might be 4 new shifts in Q1 if that's the case. Anyway, let's fix this. I'm sure the merge issue is the fact that I've added 3 shifts to the task thing. Yes, it is. Okay, so we definitely want everything non-conflicting. And then I changed. Oh, I got 2 in here. I see what the issue is. Okay, so I want you for sure. And I want you underneath that. Okay, cool. That's fine. Wait, again, all the new shifts got confused on which line. I put them in order. They're like in alphabetical order. So that's why LC for Laravel Cloud and L4 for Livewire 4 got weird. Okay. Git merge dash continue. Do your thing. Okay, I just want to make sure we get everything because I did add some new things that might be helpful. So let's go ahead and push this up before I forget. Okay, so all the work is merged. Everything's good. We're ready to continue working on this pre-check. So what is next? Let's see here. What we got in the chat. Do you think the same thing can happen to Shift as an example Tailwind had because of what AI can do now? Oh, do you mean yeah, do you mean am I fearful of Shift kind of going the way of the dodo because of AI? It's funny you asked that. A lot of people have asked that over the last couple weeks, and I actually made a tweet. I did a tweet. I'll paraphrase it, but let me just find it here because I made it last week, kind of sharing all my thoughts. It's deep in here somewhere. Here it is. Yeah, I kind of did this long form tweet Um, the long story short is, yes, Shift had a flat year last year, but I don't think it's strictly from AI. I appreciate that I'm probably not completely objective, being the creator of Shift, but I feel pretty strongly, and I feel like I am being objective when I say, currently, Shift beats AI. I have 10 years of contextual knowledge of how Laravel upgrades stuff. I've always gone above and beyond the upgrade guide, not to mention just the temporal awareness. I'm in there like following Laravel every week. It'd be like if you had AI specifically trained on Laravel upgrades, and it's just there's not really an AI that is currently doing that. It doesn't have that depth of knowledge at this time. Does it eventually, or can it be trained to? Sure. But right now, you're probably going to be the one that has to train it, which means you got to put in the time. So for all of those reasons, like Shift still beats AI in my opinion, as far as the Laravel upgrades. Is it great at like, hey, refactor a bunch of stuff sweepingly in my application? For sure, it's good. It's great at that, and I don't want to compete with it in that regard. I think what's more affecting Shift as far as its flat year is the fact that Laravel's not really doing major releases anymore. Like I just said, I don't know if there's going to be a Laravel 13. Laravel 12 was pretty much a quote-unquote maintenance release. They kind of touted it with no breaking changes. So it's more the 1-2 punch, I think, that's kind of hurting. That's kind of hurting me. Or hurting Shift. So that's kind of what I'll say on that. You can find like more detail in here, but yeah, I mean, I think Shift is still very relevant. I think Shift is still pretty awesome, but if there are no upgrades and AI continues to get better, I don't know what the future holds. And hence my willingness to do kind of these shifts that are a bit one-off, like, sure, for example, right here, this pre-check, like you could ask AI, hey, am I compatible with, Laravel Cloud? And it might say yes. But maybe this shift I'm building says no, because it's just smarter currently at that little niche of Laravel. So it kind of boils down to a trust thing. I think if you've used Shift enough, I think you probably realize that you trust it more than AI at the moment. But yeah, future is changing rapidly, so that may not always be the case. Laravel might not release major versions. For those reasons, yeah, I am nervous. But I've done well. I've done well with Shift for 10 years, so like, if it, not everything lasts forever, right? Okay, so we've got this Laravel Cloud Readiness, this Laravel Cloud Pre-Check. I still don't know what I'm going to call it. I think I changed this based on some feedback from the team. We're going to go with that for now. Today, I did a massive live stream on Monday building the Livewire 4 Shift. So, as you can tell, my voice is a little raspy. So I'm not gonna stream for very long today. I want to focus on one thing. I want to take about 30 minutes and I want to focus on one thing. I want to focus on this platform code. And I want to focus on the platform code because this will actually use a finder, which I think I talked about last time, but like there's a lot of string-based stuff that Shift does, at least to kind of weed out. So like the typical flow kind of like, is like basically like, it's like a pre-filter, and then it's, like a better check, and then it's make change, right? So it's kind of like, these are kind of the way all the shifts work. So the pre-filter here is like paths. We would say paths equals shift. Let's bring up the facades. We'll say find PHP files matching. And so today in this case, what we're going to do is we want to search for any kind of like system commands. So this is like exec or system or what is there, pass through. There's more, but we're gonna start with these as the point. So we kind of do this pre-filter. Do you have anything in your PHP code that looks like it's one of these function calls, right? And if you don't, then there's nothing at all to do here. So this is kind of just our pre-filter. It's a combination of like keeping the code clean, but also an optimization because this improves the speed of shift. I don't want to go analyzing every PHP file IO, scanning it, parsing it, and just to find out you don't even have these functions. So little pre-check, little optimization. So that's our pre-filter. Now we want to do a better check because at this point we've found, theoretically, we've found a PHP file that uses, one of these. So, and again, I think there's more. So if you know the other ones, I think there's like one or two more built-in native, system calls that I'm missing. So if you know those, throw them in the chat. I'll put them on there. But very easy regex we can fix there. So now we want to do a better check. And the better check is basically, let's get the contents, shift, get file contents. I normally get a little bit of help here. Why is Copilot? Copilot's not on. I don't know why it gets disabled all the time. Strange. Okay, and so now we'll say occurrences is equal to this parse contents. This is kind of a pattern that I use a lot. This is a string. It's never an array. That's strange. And then this should return an array. And I have some instances of this. So let's just find parse class. Yeah, there we go. It's just like this static finder. And instead, what we're going to do is like native functions. Let's do native function calls. And we're probably, let's create this class. We'll come back to that in a second. And we probably want to pass this an array of the native function calls. So let's just do the same thing here. Let's quote that, comma, we'll quote that, comma, quote that. All right, cool. So these are all the native functions that we would want to search for. So we're going to take that, we're going to parse it, that'll return occurrences, and for now we could just var dump occurrences. We're not doing anything with these, in fairness, other than just like, we're probably just matching the file, in fairness. So I could probably, whoops, I could probably just inline that. So it's basically like, if we find occurrences, then let user know in comment. So if we find these things, we kind of need to let them know, hey, on Laravel Cloud with its different infrastructure, right? It's potentially like ephemeral infrastructure. Like you need to be mindful using these types of things. So we need to make sure that we find them. And the better way to find them beyond a string search is to use a parser. In this case, we use Nick's PHP parser. It's a open source library. And let's take an array of functions. And let's go ahead and initialize that as a property. And then all of these finders follow kind of like a loose, interface. So let me find one of these recent ones I did. There's one, what did I just do the other day? I did like I had like this instance call. Yeah, this is a pretty good base. I don't want to recreate all of this stuff. So let me just show this base. All right. So let's kind of go through this. So what we do is we basically get a node, all right? And a node is just effectively a token, but it's been categorized into a class, right? It's been objectified, if you will. So what we can say is if this node is not a func call, all right, so if it's not a function call, then we already know that's not what we're looking for. So we're really just doing a bunch of guard clauses here to eliminate and make sure that this is a true native function call. So next, we don't have variables. So function call, let's just take a peek. A function call effectively has a name, and then it has arguments. All we really care about right now is its name. So we want to say that we're not going to mess with var. Instead, we're going to mess with name. And we want to make sure that name is a name. So it is node name. All right, if it's not a name, meaning like you've done something very strange, like, you know, func that, right? We don't know. We don't know what that is. We're not going to backtrace like func. So you got to be just a literal function call. You got to be, you know, system, right? Okay, so if you're not a name, then see you later. And then basically if the name is not in what we passed in, so this is this functions, awesome. Let's close that correctly. Then we return false. Otherwise, we know more or less that you're one of these functions. Now, we could take this a little bit farther, and I think we probably want to drive that out with a test. Let me finish the class, and then we'll kind of backfill a test, and let me show you what I mean. But what I'm, just to kind of call my shot here, I think what's left to do is ensure this is a, you know, global / native PHP function call. We could go a little farther there. Because for example, like you can now namespace functions. So you might namespace a system function of your own. So we could go so far as to make sure that like, no, the one you're referencing, you referenced in the global namespace. So I think we should do that just for like, again, higher fidelity. We're already parsing the class, so I think we can do a bit better. So, shell exec, proc, okay, yeah. We got a lot. There's a lot more we can do. All right, cool. Thank you. I'll add those in a bit. We'll start with these easy ones for now. I'll have to ask the team about, like the process facade or like underlying Symfony process. Again, I can add some additional calls for that. I don't know this to be true or not, but just like thinking it out in my head, part of me feels like the process facade and therefore Symfony would have to be supported somehow, right? That would be rather limiting. I could see if they didn't support it, but part of me thinks like they're Laravel, they're awesome. Like maybe they know if you're using the process facade, they could figure out how to like break that up correctly, right, on their platform. Because it's their platform, right? Laravel Cloud, like they could figure it out. So yeah, I could see raw like native system calls being an issue because they can't necessarily maybe control how those get dispatched, so to speak. But like the process facade, they could patch that. They could like monkey patch that for like Laravel Cloud. I could see that. Again, it's totally hypothetical. Sometimes the team's on here, so if I'm like talking crazy, let me know. But I feel like that's a possibility. Okay, so for now, I don't really care. I don't really care what else is here, I think, to be honest. I think we could just say, let's just output the name for now. So name. Yeah, so we get the line, we get the offset, we get the name. I'm not doing anything with this stuff, so I don't need all this extract argument craziness. I think we could leave all this alone for now. I think this is good enough. And again, this is just a checker, so we're not actually going to make the change. Now, if the team came back and said, hey, if you use this call instead of this call, like for example, if you use the process facade instead of exec, you know, that's okay. Well, then maybe part of this would be to attempt to change those in a simple way, right? So, but for now, I think this is okay. So let's just bar dump this. In order to see this work, though, I think the easiest thing to do is to get a test. So let's get a test going. So we got shift test Laravel Cloud. I think that's correct. So test task, okay, I think all this is good. And do I have any other tests here? I do, good, okay. Let's borrow a couple of these because they're gonna make life a little easier. That's half of a programmer's job is like copy paste. Whether it's from your own code or from used to be Stack Overflow, now it's AI. You know, anyway, let's see here. This is platform code. All right. So we set this up. It does nothing when nothing is found. Nothing to do here. No comments. Log shouldn't have been called. Okay, so it leaves comment when native system calls are found. Okay, and what I want to do here is let's make, this doesn't really matter, so let's just make some kind of like source file. Or well, sorry, that's not true. This kind of matters. Let's make some kind of like system client here, right? I like to make these somewhat human. So we need test fixtures. What do we call these? None of them are in here. Laravel Cloud. What is this? Platform code. And then we'll say system calls.php. All right, and then I kind of want one that's like a false. I kind of want one that's like a false positive. Let's do custom system calls. We'll call this native system calls. Again, just to kind of like, if you come in here and you read this test case, like having this be a name that kind of makes a little bit of sense, right? Is good. So we'll call this native calls, custom calls. That's feeling better. All right. So we're definitely going to expect an error, right? Because we kind of need to know them. I don't know how strict this is. I got to go back and read the requirements. I'm gonna lower this to a warning comment. And then what we need is assert file not changed. We would make sure that, basically make sure nothing got changed. So neither of these got changed because we're not changing any of these things. This isn't really a shift. It's like a checker. I have other checkers out there. So we want to make sure nothing changed. We're going to make sure that we got one comment. It was some kind of warning comment. I'll just put in like system calls here. System calls using native PHP functions. And then I think you can check references. Yeah, we can check references. So the references here are going to be that. So we want to make sure that you get a comment. The comment's going to have some kind of blurb in it. Again, I kind of clean this up from a branding perspective later. But the point here is it's going to list the files that you should go and probably review, right? So that's kind of the desired output. Now, to bring all this to life, I need to copy both of these. Let's paste that. Touch those. I probably need to make this dir first. Boop. So let's do make dir that. All right, did I mess this up somehow? Test fixtures Laravel Cloud. Did I just call it Cloud? Or do I not have any other system calls? Making sure that I did this right. Huh. I guess I don't have any other fixtures for my other tests. I'd have to verify that later. But it's fine. I can merge the directories. Let's drop these in. And let's go here. I'm here in the chat. 1 second. So let's say something. What can we do here for these native calls? Let's just say like let's namespace this stuff the right way. We'll make some kind of class. We call those native system calls. And then inside here, we just have some kind of public. None of this matters. Public function, you know, basic. And then in here, we could do something like, yeah, for right now, we don't need anything fancy. Let's just do that. Yeah, cool. And then let's do like, we'll call this global to the point of kind of making this make a little more sense. We'll call that global, and we'll call this like fully qualified. Yeah, fully qualified. Can you? I thought global was a keyword. I think that's fine. So this, like for example, we want to find that. So just again to kind of drive out. This is the whole point here is to kind of drive out that fully qualified bit. And then taking this to the other extreme, if we go look at these custom calls, what I would expect is if we said something like use function custom / system, right? And then here we would say system, that should just work. And then here we could say custom system. Now it's not going to know what these are because the namespace isn't there, but I'm almost positive this is valid PHP code. I'm almost positive. All right, let's see. I'm hearing some chat. What am I breaking? Hey Dave, how's it going? Maybe also add system to the fixtures. I think I'm caught up. On that. Let me know if I missed something. Okay, let's run this test. Because what we should see is it's finding things. We should see that it's finding things. And we're going to dial it in a little bit better, right? So let's do vendor bin PHP unit. Okay, good. We're finding things. We're not leaving a comment, so we could go fix that. Okay, now remember, we're not limiting these. So let's make the comment because I think the error is going to be a little more clear. So let's go make this comment. So basically what we can do, what we're kind of doing here is we're actually filtering paths. So let's just do an array filter paths. And then it's really just this innard. And we would return not empty on occurrences. And then we could say if, again, we would say if empty paths, return. Otherwise, we're going to leave a comment. And we're going to do shift, add warning comment, or add comment, sorry. Comment, warning, create. Where is my completion? I swear, this iMac, it's starting to hurt me. Warning comment, there we go. Comment, and then paths. And what's the problem here? Closure provided. How's a closure provided? Array filter returns the array, right? Yeah. Whatever. I'm going to ignore that for a minute. Okay, what do we call this? Let's just get a real... Let's make sure that the wording of it's passing. All right, let's see what happens here. Okay, perfect. Exactly what we expected, okay? We expected it just to say native system calls, but it got the custom system calls as well as the native system calls. So I was thinking add in system to the name of the fixture file, but they are now a bit global, but maybe that's fine. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, again, the naming I give these is a little bit subjective, so it's what makes sense for this code base. But I did notice that I put systems here. Let's fix that. Boop. All right, that feels better. Okay, so next, what we want to do here is now we go back to our Finder. Let's go back to our Finder. And what we can do here, I believe, let's just var dump. This is going to get a little bit noisy, but let's var dump node name. I'm almost positive inside of node name there are quote unquote attributes that the parser will put on there. For example, their fully qualified name or not. And what I'm expecting to see is that one of them is going to be either null or slash, and the other one is going to be like the custom system name. That's what I would expect. So let's more this because it's going to be a lot of noisy content. So here's name. So resolve name. Here we go. Fully qualified. So we have this fully qualified bit. There you go. Its fully qualified name is custom slash system. Good. Let's see what these other ones are. So this thing's fully, okay, its fully qualified name is app support. That's interesting. And this fully qualified name, resolve name is recursion. That's interesting. That's weird. I would have expected its resolve name to be slash. Or slash system. Huh. There are definitely some rough edges to the parser. Now, I don't want to blame the parser per se, but like, I get why it's doing this. I get why it's doing that. That's not what I was hoping for, though. I don't get why it's doing this. That's pretty ugly. What version? What is it? Nikic PHP parser or something? No. What is it called? I'm wondering if I'm on an old version. No, come on. Where's my composer? There it is. Nikic PHP parser. Oh, wait. Is it show or list? Show. We're on 5.6. What version are they? 5.7. I'm curious. I saw it bump. 5.6 to 5.7. Okay. Well, let's see. Yeah, still recursion. Okay. I'm trying to figure out, I'm trying to think of a reliable way to know that it's a global call. And out of curiosity, like, I'm also curious if in my filter, where were you? Oh, where'd you go? System calls. System calls. What did I call that? Oh, I called it native. I'm just curious if I put use function system. I'm curious what it comes out as. So it's still recursion here, but this one prints as system. I think like really strict PHP developers do stuff like this in fairness, or they do this. It's kind of annoying that the parser doesn't, there's no like obvious direction, right? There's no obvious direction. Like this is nice that system matches system on the one where we defined it. But you still don't get this, even though I did the slash there. It's very interesting to me that that doesn't get picked up as system, as the fully qualified name. Yeah, I'm having trouble figuring out a reliable way, because like, again, I'm not saying you would do this, but you could define function system down here. Like you could, it's valid PHP to do that. And then app support, it is namespaced under app support. So this, we see that got highlighted. What does this come across as? It still comes across as like app support, doesn't it? Or wait, sorry. Boop, boop. So that's still custom system. This still comes across as app support system, and this still comes across as recursion. So that kind of proves my point. Like, I could assume that if you're calling system and it's the same namespace as you're in, I think it's a safer assumption that you haven't done something like this. But I really don't like that it's not like 100% reliable, because again, that's kind of why I reach for the syntax tree parsing is to, increase the probability, like improve the integrity, right? Like the thing I'm actually like saying as a system call is a system call. So this is a little bit annoying. So what you'd kind of, let's just push forward here. What you'd kind of have to do is here in our filtering, we would ensure that, or well, we're saying they're native. We're saying they're native. So we're saying they're native. So this actually needs to go here. Ensure that, what is this called? Reserved name or fully qualified attribute. Oh, it's name fully qualified. Namespace name, I get you. It found that as a fully qualified name. Did it find, it found custom system as a fully qualified name too. What is in resolved name really? Okay, here's what I want to do. Let's deepen this a bit. Let's say if node name is an instance of a fully qualified name, what does this give me? Checks whether the name is unqualified. I thought you were fully qualified. Oh, false. Okay, I get it. Is relative. This just extends name. So it's not really giving us anything. It's not really giving us anything here. But the system has found it as a fully qualified name. What I am curious about, is where's that attribute? Resolve name. Get attribute, resolve name. Let's get rid of this because we know that part's working. Let's see what this gives us. Does it break down that recursion a bit more? So object fully qualified system, it still just says recursion. Is that? So get attribute, what does get attribute give us? It gives us another fully qualified, is that right? No. Namespace name gives us fully qualified. Resolved name. So there's a, okay, I'm starting to see some paths here. There's a difference. There's the resolved name, and then there's a namespaced name. The namespace name versus resolved name. But it has name underneath here. And this is an object. It's another fully qualified. But this one up here is resolved. Is resolved name. But it's not fully qualified up there. Shouldn't it have found two of those? Where's our... I'm getting lost here. We're getting in the weeds. We're deep in it here. Nope, that's not what I wanted. This is what I wanted. Okay, it should map that to that, and then this should get mapped as well. What line number is it saying it found? 11? So it found this one. Where's 16? Does it find line 16? Oh, does it think that's a class? Can you not? You have to be able to namespace functions, right? You can namespace functions when you're calling stuff. Is this? I'm wondering why it's not finding that. Is that not valid? See, we're in the weeds now, so I'm starting to question PHP. PHP function calls namespaced. Yeah, so you can, oh, yeah, you can namespace. You would namespace these. Best practice, yeah. So we talked about the kind of the best practice where you actually do this. Yeah, why is it not picking up line? Is it not picking that up? I would have expected it to find 16 as well. Like, I'm okay that it doesn't find 16 because we're just going to weed it out anyway, but it's interesting that it's not dumping. Let's go back to our finder. Where's our finder? There we go. I want to dump, let's dump node name. Okay, we are dumping, okay, we're var dumping a bunch of other stuff. Why are we not? Oh, sorry. Let's dump node name. And let's just cut that out to reduce the noise. System. Okay. So it's only finding 3. It's actually not finding, so it is not finding this other one. I don't know why. I'm just curious if I cut that off. Yeah, see, now it finds 4. If I say, I wonder if I don't import this and make them both that, does it do a better job? No, see, now it only finds 2. So there's something wrong with this. It won't find a namespaced function call seems to be something else. That seems to be something else to Nikic parser. I wonder where that dies. We're off in it. we're off in it now. Now I'm curious. Like I said, there are some rough edges to this parser. So we got a function call. Let's see if we're here. I just want to let's dump node get start line. 11, 16, 9, and 14. Okay, so it's finding it here. It is finding it as a function call. Okay, it's finding, okay. It's to lower string. Here we go. It's fully qualified. It's already fully qualified, so it's ruling it out here, which is good. Yeah, there you go. See, custom system is what comes across there. So let's go back to where we were. Okay, that's making more sense now. And again, it helps because now, no wait, where's the custom calls? There it is. Let's undo some of this. There we go. That's where we want to be. Okay, it's got 11, it's got 16. It does that, it does 9, 4. Okay, so yeah, it only does the rest now. It cuts that out because it's not a system call. Or it automatically knows that it's not one of the ones in ours because it's considered part of the name. Is that correct from like a Finder perspective? From a parsing perspective, I don't feel like that's correct. But I'm okay with it in the cases of what we are. I feel like that thing should still be a function call to a name of system, and then it should be qualified in the details. So that's interesting. To me, that's like an edge case parsey thing. That's not the way I would have built it. But anyway, carrying on, that's why we're only getting 3. We're getting the very first one because it's system. The second one is considered to be, yes, a function call, but its name is fully qualified. So the point here is that because of that little quirk in the parser, we know that if we get down here, that you're making like a raw system call. You're making like a raw system call. And then I think what we can do is we can leverage the fact, we can leverage the other little quirk about this thing of like recursion and the fact that this is called fully qualified. This is a namespace name versus the resolved name. So basically the point here is we know if we get a resolved name, we need to check to make sure that that thing's name has a custom namespace. That's what we want to do. So if you have, the way we're going to play this is if you have not a namespace name, but a resolved name. Let's try that. Let's say if name, has attribute resolved name. Let's var dump what you are. So that is system. Oh, do they all have a resolved name? I'm getting like more output than I expected here. Let's go back. Are we we're not var dumping anything here. Oh, we're dumping. Sorry. That's the problem. So we get in here twice. One with line 11, and it's custom. And then one with line 14 of our other file. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, great. So here's the point. If you have a resolved name, then that name, the name on that object, needs to be fully qualified, and it has to be in the array. So that's what we're going to do here. Let's beef this up a little bit. So really what we want to say here is name, and we want to do a little bit of pre-filtering on name. So name by default is going to be node name to lowercase, to lower string. That's the default. But if you have an attribute of that and that attribute is an instance of node name, then we want to use that name instead. So then we want to use this name instead, which is a little junky, but that. And we know that that name, just like when it's pre-parsing the name, we know that that name would be the fully qualified bit. Okay. There we go. Cool. To lower string on string. Oh, name is just name. Sorry. You don't need name. You just need to lower string. Ah! All right, so what's the problem now? Oh, it's not native systems anymore. We called it system, and I think we're going to pass. Wow. That was the long way around, folks. We did it. Oh, that's not you. That's you. And it's native system calls. And we pass. Wow. Okay, let's go review, because we definitely took like a 15-minute tangent there. Okay. Create. I still don't know why it's thinking that's a freaking closure, but whatever. Something's wrong there. There's bugs in the machine today. All right, let's go down to our parser. Let's review this one more time. Okay, we pass it in a set of functions, native PHP functions. So we filter through, we parse a file into its PHP tokens. We analyze that, or allow Nikic parser to analyze that. We got to make sure that's a function call. We got to make sure that that's the literal name of the function. And then the default is just to get the lowercase name of that. That avoids, of course, any kind of like normalization where you can call, system with a capital S. But now we're saying, hey, if you've got an attribute of a resolved name, which we're trusting more than the namespace name, because the namespace name just puts it in the current namespace, and we're just going to say that people aren't writing code that way. Again, it could be namespace that way, but honestly think if you did that and we went back to that example, it'd be called resolved name and not the other way around, which that's my belief anyway. So I'm not going to go back and prove that, but I think that's the case. So the point here is that we saw that if it has a resolved name, and that is an actual name thing, then we can basically use that instead, because that's the same behavior that it has when it's parsing out, what do we call those? Custom calls. That's the same behavior it would have and give this thing a name. It gives it the full name. So that way, when we filter it by the functions that we said to look for, it's not going to pass that. And then we basically correctly say occurrences, and we return those occurrences. And if you have any of them, then we give you a little error, a little warning comment that, hey, you're using these in these files, and that's why our test is passing. So of course I got to beef up that comment to be a little more like human. Right now it's just a snippet to say, hey, we found some system stuff. But basically this is good. If we expand this out to the other things, I'll ask the team, like, should we also include process facade and all that stuff? If so, we basically just beef this up, write out the comment, and this one should be good to go. I have no idea why it's thinking that's a closure, but I'm going to leave it alone. So, woo! We did it. A lot longer than I thought it would take, but we got there in the end, right? So, all right, so next week what we're going to do is I'm going to finish this task up. That's really the last one. So next week what we'll do is we'll launch this and run it from the Shift website. So thanks everybody for joining live and going down the parsing rabbit hole with me. See you next week.